welcome his other panelists. John is passionate about people management and their development. Dr. John's areas of core competency include talent management, primarily focusing on talent reviews, selection assessments, performance, succession planning, engagement, leadership development, nationalization, psychometrics, and a wide array of occupational assessments, behavioral economics, and talent analytics. He holds a degree in engineering, an MBA or PhD in management, and is a certified occupational psychologist and a Gallup certified talent coach with over 17 years of experience in talent management, including senior management experience. In his past role, Dr. John worked with the Al Futtaim Group, one of Middle East's largest business houses, for 8 years in various roles before completing his tenure successfully as head of talent for its automotive division. He now heads talent management for Ibrahim Khalil Kanu, which is one of the most progressive organizations in the Kingdom of Bahrain. His role includes leading the largest automotive training facility in Bahrain. So with that, welcome, John. How are you doing?
I'm good, Helen.
John?
Yes, I can hear you.
Frozen. Yeah, hi.
Thank you so much, Helen.
You're very welcome. Waiting for Deborah to join in there. Deborah is Kunal. I think Deborah is just logging in. Perfect. There you got Hamza as well. There you go. We've got the whole team now. Fantastic. Very warm welcome, Hamza, Kunal, Deborah. So glad to have all of you. I know this is going to be an amazing, amazing panel. Deborah, I love the giraffes in your background. They're so beautiful. Colorful and beautiful. Over
Thank
to you,
Helen.
John.
Yep.
I will
Thank
allow
you so
you
much.
to introduce your panel.
Sure. Thank you for the amazing opportunity. Firstly, I can't believe it's already been a year since we last met in the HR Summit. And also thank you for saving the best for the last.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve it for keeping the perseverance. And Kunal came up with an amazing idea to push us to day 3. And I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. It's been great to have you guys. So over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Helen.
All the best. You're very welcome.
We usually start off panel discussions or any conferences with some scary statistics, isn't it? So I brought some research statistics before we introduce our panelists, etc. So a recent research report I came across said that the biggest issue in HR currently is not that robots are taking all the jobs. It's that there are not enough humans to do them. So as per this research, there'll be a global human talent shortage of more than 85 million people by 2030. That's quite scary, isn't it? Which is roughly equivalent to the population of Germany. This talent shortage could result in about $8.5 trillion in unrealized annual revenue by 2030 as well. Yeah. This study further showed that by 2030, countries like Russia could have a shortage of up to 6 million people. Yeah, and China could be facing a shortage twice that gap. The US also could be facing a deficit of more than 6 million workers. And that's worse in Japan, Indonesia, and Brazil, each of which could have a shortage of around 18 million skilled workers. Lawrence Bossidy, the former CEO of GE, once said, "Nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing talent. At the end of the day, we bet on people and not on strategies." What a wonderful Wednesday afternoon to be leading this amazing panel discussion in the 2021 HRM Summit. Our topic is talent acquisition strategies, the path to business success. My name is John Matthew, and I can't tell you how much I'm delighted to share the screen with our amazing panelists. We have Deborah Corey, who's joining us from the UK. Hi, Deborah. Deborah is a highly experienced and award-winning HR leader, consultant. She's a world-class speaker and 3-time best-selling author who has been named 2 years in a row as one of the top 101 global employee engagement influencers. After 20 plus years of working for the global companies like Gap, Merlin Entertainment, and Reward Gateway, she now inspires and pays it forward by helping others develop and deliver HR strategies in a rebellious way, pushing the boundaries, challenging the status quo to truly drive employee engagement. Deborah's 3 books actually include Effective HR Communication, Build It, and Bringing Your Values Out to Play. Welcome, Deborah. I'm really impressed with your title, like I said last time, of Chief Paid Forward Officer, and also truly honored to be sharing platforms with a best-selling author. So welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Hamza Idrisi, who is also joining us from UK. Hey, Hamza, how are you? He is part of the operations team in charge of the best places to work certification across the Middle East. Hamza has been with them for the past 11 years, where he successfully conducted the assessment for different local and multinational organizations. During this panel discussion, Hamza will provide some good insights and trends from the research they've been doing among the best performing organizations of the region. Hamza, welcome to the discussion, and I'm sure the audience is also quite keen to hear about the research findings. And finally, Kunal Wadhwani, who is Group Head of Human Resources GCC for the Choitrams Group, is joining us from, not from Dubai, but from Oman this time. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's right.
As the Group Head of HR for the GCC region, Kunal oversees the management of around 4,500 employees. With over 21 years of experience in linking human capital to business results, Kunal has been highly adept at planning and directing employee relations. Along with that, he also oversees the reward and talent management strategies. Kunal's been playing a keynote role and as a panel speaker in many HR forums. Work 2.0 HR Summit is one of them, World HRD Congress is one of them, and many more. He also likes to partner with universities across Middle East and India, and he conducts keynotes with student groups where he shares insights on leadership, conflict resolution, stress management, and how to incorporate fun into your modern day corporate life. In his spare time, Kunal also competes as a professional 10-pin bowler and enjoys his scuba diving routine as well. So, hey, Kunal, it is very good to have you on this panel. And if we got a bit of time left at the end, do share a few tips on bowling, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, for the audience, please feel free to drop a question or two in the chat box, and we'll try and address it towards the end during the Q&A session. All right. So let's start off this panel discussion today with an opening remark on the subject from each panelist. I'll go across each panelist for a couple of minutes and would like to hear about you. What do you think about this topic that we are going to discuss today? So Deborah, can we start with you?
Sure. You know, I was going to use this one analogy, but then when you talked about 10-pin bowling, I'm going to change my analogy there. So a lot of what I spend my time doing is making sure that as a bowler, tell me if this is right now, making sure as a bowler that you've got the right balls that will knock the pins over, and making sure that, you know, they're nice and clean and in good shape. So I spend a lot of my time getting that package together. The last speaker was talking about total rewards and recognition. And then that's exactly what I do. So I guess my initial thoughts are, first of all, to make sure you've got the right one. I mean, these statistics that you told us were overwhelming. So if there was ever a time to dust off your bowling balls and make sure that you've got the right ones, it's now, because the competition is going to get more fierce. So we all need to be able to put our own spin on it and make sure that we've got the right elements in our rewards package, and the rest of our engagement package, everything that we do to attract people needs to be really nice and shiny. And also how we package together. You know, I'm going to go to another analogy of a puzzle. So how do we put all the pieces together so that when we're presenting it to the candidates, they can see how it joins up, they can see how amazing we are, and they don't have to fill in the pieces and think, oh my gosh, that company just didn't think about it. So I guess that's my initial thoughts on what we need to do when it comes to talent and making sure that we can attract those talented people and get them in the door.
Superb analogies, Deborah, thank you. We'll come back to the bowling expert at the end, okay? So let's see what he's got to say. Hamza, what's your initial thoughts? You're on mute. Can you unmute, Hamza?
Yeah, do you hear me now?
Perfect. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to attend, this panel today. So just to brief a little bit the audience about myself. So as you mentioned, I've been actually with the Best Places to Work organization for the past 11 years. And every year, basically, we conduct different research, so we focus really on what drives employee experience and its impact on the business performance. And the different research that we've been conducting, every year reveals that there is a clear correlation between employee engagements, talent acquisition, but also financial performance of different organizations. And really, the best places to work organizations are consistently, outperforming the rest of the organizations. Now, definitely, later on in the call, I'll share with you, more insights, regarding what are the different, things that are coming on regular basis, when we speak about, best performing organizations, but also the talent acquisition strategies that they put in place.
Perfect, Hamza. We're all looking forward to hear about those findings. Yeah. Kunal, for you.
Right. Thank you, John. Although I'm a big believer in seeing the positive in situations, I have to admit this time it is hard, very hard. People all around me, family members, my friends, my professional networks are facing job losses. So the question is, how can we be positive if we may not be able to provide for our families or pay our bills? When I talk about talent acquisition in specific, with reduced recruiting levels and need to deliver a more resilient workforce, the job of talent acquisition professional looks a lot different than it did in 2019. The pandemic challenged organizations to continue to deliver a meaningful employee and candidate touchpoints despite shrinking HR teams, limited opportunity for human contact, and ever-changing hiring needs as well. And now talent acquisition leaders expect difficulty in forecasting future talent acquisition needs. That's not surprising since organizations are continuously adapting to ever-changing conditions. I think as we move on in this session, it would be good for all of us to understand how this phase is going to change gears with the travel industry opening up globally.
Thank you, Kunal. I agree. It's quite a challenging time and one like we've never seen before. All right. So let's dig a bit more deeper. What we'll do now is we'll go across each panelist and address some critical questions that have come up within this specific area. And let's listen to their thoughts. Yeah. I'm a marketing student who ended up in HR. All right. So, but while I was in HR, I've seen that talent acquisition particularly involves a lot of marketing. Okay. It involves a lot of selling as well. Yeah. It's a lot about building a game plan on how we can convince potential talent to join us, and also how can we get more budgets from our bosses to hire more talent. So it's also about strengthening that employees' perception that they have about the company. Yeah. Now, an organization's core beliefs, principles, and values can have a great impact on attracting talent. And I know a bit that Deborah's done quite a lot of work in this area. We would really like to hear from Deborah, and if you can share your insights on linking perception, values, etc., to attracting talent.
Absolutely. I do have to apologize because just as you asked me to talk, my one dog started snoring. So I might talk really loud to wake him up so he stops snoring if it gets too loud. But anyway, I think you're absolutely right about marketing, and so much in HR involves marketing, but I look at it in a slightly different way in that it's genuine marketing. So if I think about companies that market to me in an insincere way and you end up getting the wrong product, you have this can of, I've got kombucha here, and you get this can of kombucha and they say it's the most amazing thing in the world. And then you bring it home and it's absolute rubbish. That's not what you want to happen with your company, because if you've got this war for talent and you're always recruiting, the last thing you want is a revolving door. So one of the ways that we can make sure that we're getting the right people in the door are absolutely our values. And if you look at the numbers, you said you like numbers, John, I like numbers. So if you look at the numbers, about 8 out of 10 people now, before they actually join a company, go and look and seek out information on culture and values. It's that important to them these days. They know with all of these companies to choose for, culture and values is one area that's going to make a big, big difference. So I guess if you're looking at your values in your organization, first of all, let me assume that you have the right values in your company, and make sure that you've got values. In my book, I talk a lot about how can you come up with the right values that really, really help you stand out, like I spoke about with your engagement and reward programs, help you stand out, make you unique. One company I interviewed is a mattress company, and their values are all about sleep and sheep. And another company I interviewed is a delivery company, and their values are all about, like spaceships and travel. So what can you do to have the right values so that you can then market them to get the right people in the door? And it's so important to market it in a couple of different ways. And this might seem obvious, but it's amazing how many companies don't do this. So I was just researching a company this morning, and I wanted to know what their values were, and they weren't on their website. So if you're listening and you do not have your values on your website now, at the end of the day, put on your to-do list to put your values on the website. Because if you want to make sure that you're getting the right people who are not going to leave later, then make sure you've got your values on your website. The other obvious thing to do, which again is really important from a talent acquisition perspective, is to interview against your values. Again, hopefully you're all doing that, but what can you do to make sure that you really uncover, is that something that's right for people? So one of my company values is open the door to possibilities. So in an interview question, I'd be saying, John, give me some examples of how you've opened the door to possibilities. What happens when you've closed it? What's been the reaction to that? And make sure that you really bring those values to life and bring them out to play in the interview process. And then the last part is to make your decisions based off of it. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, there's been times where I've seen this amazing candidate, and they might not necessarily answer the values questions 100% right, but you think they're so good, I have to hire that person. Trust me, that does not work. And one of the companies I interviewed in my book, I think they're in Boston, they actually did an exercise a year after they started interviewing against their values. They looked at all the people who had left the company, and every single one of them had a values red flag, meaning that they didn't necessarily live up to what the values were. Every single person. So they changed their policy, and they said, from now on, we are not going to hire anybody, no matter how great they are, because it's not right for them. They're going to join a company and it's not going to be the right company for them. And it's not right for us, because then unfortunately we're going to have to exit them and then start the recruitment process all over. So again, just in summary, make sure you've got the right values, put them on the website, interview against them, and then make decisions based off of them.
Super. Thanks, Deborah. And I think it's high time the values come out from the wall, from the posters, and I think truly get embedded into that entire employee journey, isn't it? We are talking about talent acquisition, so we are touching upon that, but I think it has to continue, and it has to be lived on a daily basis. So training needs to have it. At some point, you have your performance management coming in, and so did you demonstrate these values during the year and so on? So it touches upon the entire cycle.
Yeah, I was going to say the title of my book is Bring Your Values Out to Play. And the reason, I'm a very visual person, as you can tell looking behind me. And the whole idea of it is I can picture your values as like balls. We'll do bowling balls again, Canal. And that you're just using them over and over again, as you said, embedding them, plumbing them into every single process that you have. So absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Deborah, once again. Let's move to Hamza now. As mentioned earlier, Hamza has been assessing various companies. He's been studying best practices and heard a lot of success stories in this region related to attracting talent and what potential talent perceive about best companies to work. So Hamza, over to you, if you can share your thoughts, please.
Sure. Thanks, John, again. I think one of the aspects maybe that I would like just to focus on is really what we have in the past couple of months, especially with the COVID-19, about some trends, about the talent acquisition. And I think this would be very important, for our audience today to learn a little bit, what are the trends and what are some of the practices, that, put in place by different organizations across the region have placed a slowdown or even freeze their recruitment. This doesn't mean that talent acquisition, comes to a halt. You may not be hiring right now, but you would eventually reopen your pipeline, in the upcoming few weeks or months. So the idea really here is to have that pool of candidates ready to tap into when required. So it's really essential to continue strengthening, your position as an employer, so that you can attract, those different candidates to your organization. Now, one of the aspects maybe that I would like to share first is that the pandemic has brought down an important, practice that is part of the best places to work, organizations. So the first one that I would like to mention is that we've seen a number of organizations actually forming external partnerships with other similar organizations that the organization might need on a temporary basis. So this is one of the trends that I would like to share is that the COVID-19 had definitely, so this has been the case for different organizations. We have seen also some other organizations, demonstrating that they have such tooling, in place, even before the pandemic. So they use, video, interviews even before. Also, some of the trends over here is that, some of the companies has been using, targeted content, for branding and for attracting talents. So for example, for any potential candidates who would like to receive updates about the organization, or perhaps, learn about the team culture, or what your existing employees have to say about their employee experience. So a number of organizations has been actually facilitating this or providing, different channels so that, potentially, candidates would learn about their organizations. Now, something also that comes up, for the region, specifically, across the Middle East, is that 75 of the top performing organizations already are applying, marketing techniques like targeted content, lead nurturing, advanced analytics, sometimes, when it comes to talent acquisition. 88% of those organizations, involve already, their existing employees in talent acquisition. This includes, having a structured, talent brand ambassador programs where, HR moves beyond collecting employee testimonials towards training their employees to be involved more into maintaining the talent communities in question. So those are some, of the trends, that we have seen across the region, and maybe, Kunal or the rest of the team maybe can provide some examples about how they're applying this in their organization.
Great, Hamza. And we can clearly see a lot of emphasis on employer branding in these last few years. I mean, just like companies are spending on corporate branding, a lot of companies are really keeping a pool of money for employer branding, and a lot of innovative stuff coming in. It's truly a war for talent, isn't it? They're all trying to capture this small group of amazing performers that are available on this global talent pool. Everybody is trying to fish from it, right? And when we have challenges like these pandemics, it becomes even more difficult. Yeah. So Hamza, thanks for sharing some of those statistics. Yes, Deborah, please go ahead.
I was just going to mention something. Sorry, when you were talking, Hamza, about the war for talent and marketing and doing things differently. And one of the things that I wrote about in my second book, and this is another really basic thing, is how we describe our jobs in our job descriptions. So I just pulled my book off the shelf because I love this example, if you guys can see it. So we posted a job for a communications assistant. Let's see if it works on the camera. And can you see the picture of the unicorn? So we we wanted to try to attract people in a different way. And we described the job in a more creative way, a more unique way. And you would not believe how many people applied just by doing something like that. So sorry, I thought I have this example. I just wanted to share it. Yeah.
I came across very similar. I came across this post on LinkedIn yesterday where the character from Squid Game has got the card in his hand, and when he turns the card, it's a job advertisement of that company, and the ad says we are not as difficult as the games in Squid Games. So I mean, it's a real ad on LinkedIn. I couldn't believe it. Well, thanks for sharing that example, Deborah. Coming from the automotive industry, we have been discussing shortage of talent since the last many years. We got quite a dearth of technicians globally. And on top of that, we are trying to electrify all the vehicles. That's creating a lot of opportunities. But in countries like Japan, where there's a whole electric vehicle centric push from the government, companies have actually planned out their normal car production for the next 10 years. All right. So if they go fully electric, it can potentially cost countries like Japan around 5.5 million jobs. Yeah. Other than all these cars that have already been manufactured and ready to sell. Now, these are challenges that we look at it as opportunities, but they become big challenges when it comes to talent, the talent market. Other than that, the global pandemic, I think there's been a lot of discussions. It's shaken up the talent market quite a lot. Kunal, we've heard a lot of discussions, a lot of speakers talking about in conferences since the pandemic initially struck. But the world is still struggling to have a grasp on it, it seems. Of course, there's a lot opening up slowly. But we are really keen to know from somebody who handles a large team like you to understand what's happened since last year. How's this impacted your talent acquisition process, and what's the current state of affairs in this region? Some realistic examples.
All right, John, talent acquisition just may be the biggest challenge that HR teams face today. COVID-19 changed recruitment overnight, and the subsequent great resignations has led employees across industries to reevaluate their careers, prioritize their well-being, and in many cases, make big life changes. These changes often include leaving their jobs. Older employees have retired, younger ones have left to pursue passion projects. People of all ages have decided to take extended leave, go back to school, or switch industries altogether. This has left our companies scrambling to fill positions and backlog of open jobs at many organizations for that matter, and it lingers to this day as we speak. Not all of these exits from the workforce will be permanent. Some are predicting that more people will re-enter the workforce in 2021 and 22 than any single year on record. But for the moment, a tight talent market means that businesses are fiercely competing for the same candidates. So here are a few ways, which I can speak about the COVID-19 pandemic, the way it has changed talent acquisition, and maybe some key strategies for human resource professionals who are listening on how to manage the overall talent market like this one. So the first thought that comes to my mind is remote recruiting has obviously increased the talent pool for companies that can get it right. With many organizations currently working in a hybrid or a remote model, the talent pool just got a whole lot bigger and a lot less dependent on location. So it's easy to assume that this means hiring will be easier, but anyone currently working in talent acquisition can attest that this isn't the case. A wider talent pool also means that more companies competing for top candidates around the world, with the geography no longer a qualifier at many sought after employers. And many of our organizations have implemented digital interviews and other COVID safe recruiting techniques during the pandemic situation. Now, with some organizations transitioning to indefinite remote or hybrid work models, and some others having decided video interviews are simply more convenient, these methods are in many cases here to stay. As our recruitment teams hone their own virtual interview process and implement other digital forward recruitment practices, we should also keep the candidate experience in mind and what this experience may reveal about our organization. Does the process feel seamless, friendly, or professional, or is it very clunky or chaotic? Sometimes these video calls can be very embarrassing. They just don't work, right? So investing in technology like video interviewing software and online onboarding platforms can help smooth any wrinkles in the virtual hiring process. And an outdated process may put some employees off applying at all, in any organization in today's time. The second thing I would speak about is employer branding is going virtual. You yourself, John, were talking about being a marketing person coming into HR. I, being an HR person, very strongly believe that branding is not just marketing's job, it is everybody's job. It's important to keep your recruitment process as well up to date from a technological perspective. Yet a huge part of establishing a positive, appealing employer branding during recruitment and hiring is simply keeping, communications friendly, consistent, and maybe clear. This starts with our first interaction with the candidate, as we all know, and extends through the onboarding and maybe, of course, beyond that. So it's important to keep in mind that our brand is either enhanced or damaged by every interaction between the candidate and HR teams. Leading with our values, which Deborah had highlighted some time back, it means putting them into practice in how we communicate via email, phone, or video mechanisms, right? And it's a great time to be intentional. It's a great time to be strategic and bold about the way we are telling our company story. So accentuating the traits that make our culture unique will help attract candidates who will appreciate what our organizations have to offer and ultimately will thrive at our companies once they are on board. The third element that comes to my mind is talent acquisition professionals are, taking the internal talent mobility at this stage even more seriously. At many organizations, the biggest untapped source of talent is the closest to home, our own employees. So with the talent demand consistently outpacing supply, tapping into this source will be the key. And one way to do this is to think creatively about roles and responsibilities. This means considering key capabilities when recruiting and promoting internally rather than relying too much on the job title or the function or focusing only on typical career paths. Areas like marketing and sales, IT and finance, and HR and product management have plenty of overlap in the skills and expertise needed to perform the job. So a robust tradition of promoting, training, and in general taking care of our employees will only help with retention too. So when we invest in our employees' development and promote from within, the message is very, very clear. This is an organization where employees can build their career. That's what we are talking about. So now that I speak about these three elements and maybe what's next for talent acquisition, look, the uncertainty of the past year and half makes it difficult to predict what the coming years or even months will bring. However, there are few things we do know. We know that more widespread comfort with remote and hybrid work will continue to broaden our talent pools in the new and exciting ways. We know that tech companies will continue to launch expanded offers for the HR market, and that we are going to need to keep a healthy skepticism about which platforms will really make a difference for our employees and our talent management systems. And we also know that how our organizations manage this complex juncture in employee experience will bolster our employer brand for years to come. So if we are transitioning fully to remote or hybrid work, how are we helping our employees through this shift? What sort of employee engagement techniques have we put in place to ensure that we are hearing and responding to our people needs, on a timely basis? Whether via reporting, word of mouth, or sites like, Glassdoor, Indeed, word, gets out about what it's like to work at our organization in today's time. And in a talent market where candidate holds that power, a well-crafted employer brand backed up by the employee experience, our hiring practices within the organization will be our most important advantage in attracting and retaining the great employees who will foster our organization's long-term success. This is what my opinion is about, the way talent acquisition has been streamlined in due course of time and how our strategies should be fostered as we move on.
Great insights, Kunal. Loved the fact which you pointed out in terms of the value of homegrown talent has increased. Yeah. When I say homegrown, again, it's not just within the company, it's probably within the country, what's available. I think companies are trying to utilize because suddenly we were not allowed to hire cross-border, isn't it? And also geography is now history. The fact you said people can work from anywhere. So the whole virtual way of working has opened up quite a lot of doors. And I think in the last 2 years, companies have got a bit more comfortable in new ways of working. So probably as much as we feel they'll go back to the old practices, I think many are here to stay, isn't it? It was a short time, but I think it's really opened up a lot of new ways of working. So great. I think superb insights from all three of you, and I can see we've crossed 30 minutes now. Got around 10 minutes left, and I would like to know if Ellen is here, if there are any questions that have come in the chat that our panelists can share some of their views on.
Yes, John, there are questions, and I'm just going to go into the room. Yes. Question for Kunal. Firstly, many thanks for all your help. So many people we know have lost their jobs, and the panel also talked about talent shortage. How can we explain this gap?
Sorry,
Kunal,
I'm still getting used to the technology part of it.
Do you want me to?
All right. No, I think I got your question. I think it's about someone is asking about many people losing their jobs, and at the same point in time, companies facing talent shortage. How do we bridge this gap? So when company faces talent shortage, it's not just that things are fine again at this particular point in time, and we are going to go back and hire the same amount of people that we had lost in the recent past, in the last 18 to 20 months. Companies are re-evaluating their strategies associated to how they need to run their business, right? And what kind of technological interventions have we adopted in the last 18 to 20 months? How does that impact our headcount? And then revamping our manpower budgets for the year, right? So these are few elements that immediately come to my mind. Now, if I have to share an example about Choithrams, we follow the financial calendar as our annual calendars, which is Jan to December. So our manpower budgeting generally happens in the month of October, and we finalize everything by end of October. We did the same thing end of 2019, and in June 2020, after COVID was in full form, creating lockdowns and affecting businesses, we decided to do a rebudgeting exercise at that particular point in time. So good part about Choithrams is that we did not lay off a single person. We did not stop salaries of people. We created made some arrangements within the system where everything could be accommodated and we could take care of our existing pool. However, did we decide to postpone our upcoming projects? Absolutely yes. We decided that was not the right time to invest in new things. Let's hold on. Let's see how things go by. So obviously, there were many people who were losing their jobs, and there was a surge in the number of CVs that Choithrams received from outside. But could we hire? Okay, the answer is no, because it was all a part of our strategy that we need to stay put and manage what we have at this particular point in time so that we can think of the future, as the year goes by or maybe the vaccination comes in. Today, we have adopted technology. All of us are, listening to each other or talking to each other on this video conference. My team used to travel to, so many countries earlier. Now we do all that exercise sitting in one room on this virtual interface at this particular point in time. So travel budgets are cut, not because we are a miser organization. Travel budgets are cut because we don't need to do this right now, right? And at the same point in time, because we have adopted technology, by the way, in no means I say that technology can always replace people. I very genuinely believe that technology is incorporated to enhance processes, not to replace human. Obviously, as the process becomes more streamlined or faster, you require comparatively less hands, right, to manage the same process. And we have done those things. We have reevaluated our budgets. There are so many departments in Choithrams where if one budgeted profile leaves the organization for any reason, we may not necessarily hire a replacement at this particular point in time. But we are not creating an opportunity for people to leave the company. We are trying to still take care of them. So yes, there are people who have lost their jobs. There are many people who send us their CVs. I receive so many messages on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's very difficult to cater to all the messages as well, and I feel very sad about it. But at the same point in time, we maintain our data bank, and as and when a position comes by, whether it is at a junior level, at a middle management, or a top level, we do revisit these profiles. We give the candidates a call. We ask them how they are doing at that particular point in time, and I think it's just a connect. Some people have joined us by getting into these kind of practices, and some people have got another opportunities, which we are very, very happy about. Will this take time? Absolutely, yes. I truly hope what John has mentioned some time back that maybe we should go back to how things were. And I would really like that, if you ask my opinion. And that comes from me because I'm a Gen X.
Thank you so much for that.
Can I jump on that one? Because
Please do.
I think it sort of ties a lot of what we've been talking about. And Helen, you noticed my picture before. So my giraffe picture is giraffes with 3D glasses. And last time I was in Dubai speaking, I gave everybody 3D glasses because I think we need to look at these situations with 3D glasses. And what I've seen some companies do to sort of fill that gap between people who don't have jobs, not enough people, is they completely rethink what can we do to develop people. And it might cost money in the short term by bringing in people who might not have those skills. But I've seen some organizations do a really good job of bringing people in and developing them to be their future talent. It's more of a long-term strategy. But, you know, Kunal, you talked about you doing your strategic planning, but they're building that into a part of their strategic planning. I know I went to a meeting once in LinkedIn and they had these people who had been trained as developers, never did developers ever, like they were a taxi driver, a florist, whatever. And they had just invested like 6 months in developing these people and they are their future stars. So again, put your 3D glasses on and look at talent in a different way to fill the gap.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. The next question is for you, Dr. John. It says, has the war for talent already started?
Well, I guess when I was in Dubai in 2010, I heard this for the first time, that the war for talent has begun. So 11 years later, it's still on. And I think the war has become more serious now. And probably 11 years back, businesses were a bit more better. The margins have really reduced now. And so each business wants to now run the race faster. Okay, I'm not talking about the credit crunch of 2008, etc. But generally, everyone's in a challenging state right now. Yeah, the chunks of profits have really gone down. And so we're trying to take a bigger bite of the same cake. So, well, to do that, you need the best, isn't it? And that's why the war has become more stronger, I think. It was always there. We are all trying our ways to find out how best to fight this war. That's my take on it.
Right. And I think, John, there are many people there that are experienced that, you know, one organization's loss is another organization's gain. And I think if you look at it positively, you've got a bigger, wider pool of people that are experienced, been there, done it, and you just get somebody just ready to roll. That's the positive way of looking at it as well, right?
Helen, do you think we should not call it a war then for that reason?
Yes, absolutely.
I love what you just said. And I think we need to, everybody on this call, let's vote for a new word for it then.
Yes, true.
It's high time to change it.
Yes, think positively. Just give me a second. Okay, Deborah, this one is for you. How do you measure the success of a talent acquisition strategy?
Well, you're asking the person who doesn't do talent acquisition day in and day out. So I'm going to give you like a 2-second answer, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kunal, who does it every single day. I guess for me, you know, the simple answer is by numbers, but I guess you need to understand what does it mean to you? Is it the numbers? Is it the quality? Is it the productivity? I think it's really, what are you hoping that talent to do for you? Is it creating the new product? Is it higher engagement? So I think the starting point is, what is that KPI in lots of different ways? And I do think, again, putting on 3D glasses, we shouldn't just look at numbers all the time, because especially with people coming in and going out and jobs not being for life, for me, talent acquisition is getting the right person in to do the right job at that time and getting the best out of them. But Kunal, you live it. You live it on a day-to-day basis. Go ahead, mate. How do you answer that?
You know, I think this is a very book term. I'm not fantastic at books as Deborah is, but let me put it this way. I think a strategy should be associated to talent management as a principle, as a package, rather than just limiting yourself and, you know, segregating things to, you know, plan, your outputs. So allow me to say this. I'm in Oman right now for a management development program closure. This is an activity that we do in-house. We don't do it with an external consultant, for the simple reason that We understand our culture better. We understand our employees better. We understand our targets better. We understand our strategy better, right? When we take these four perspectives into picture, it was important that we run an internal program. This program has ran for 4 months. And this morning, I was evaluating the projects associated to those programs, which was arranged in conjunction with operations. So my L&D team and the operational team over here in Oman had worked on these elements over here, and results are fantastic. In 3 months, the kind of growth we have seen, we had not seen throughout 18 months in pandemic, right? And it's just about realizing your potential. These are the things people could have done any which ways, right? If I may say so. However, it's about just tapping those potential areas. Guiding principles should be provided to the employees at times, and once they get that direction, they start running into it. So there are elements which we have seen that have progressed, and then there are elements which we have discussed today, which we'll be reevaluating in the next 3 months. So even if the development program gets closed today, after period of 4 months, next 3 months will still be an assessment to see, how things are shaping up. Still growing, from where we have stopped, or whether employees are getting into a lag phase where they are relaxing right now, anticipating the fact that everything is over. So I think a talent management principle strategy is much more important to visualize the output that an organization gets. That includes what Deborah has mentioned about getting right people at the right time in the right place.
Addressing the need, connecting the dots. I think that's fantastic. That's strategy.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, we've got one question for Hamza, and that is, how is Best Places to Work? How does Best Places to Work help an organization attract the right talent? And Hamza, you would need to unmute yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
now, just going back into the process itself, just for the audience to learn a little bit, how we do the assessment. So the assessment program, the Best Place to Work actually is done through 2 assessments. So the assessment number 1 of the program is basically we work with the HR teams of the organizations in order to complete an assessment that focuses on 8 topics in the program. So we cover leadership, we cover topics like HR practices, like including recruitment, talent acquisition, onboarding experience, performance assessment, recognition, compensation benefits program. So we cover really different topics, and we try to understand how the organization is doing in terms of leading and supporting the employees in the organization from the perspective of the HR team or the management team. So this is part number 1. So part number 2 of the exercise is really we go to the employees of the organization and we survey the employees in order to get their feedback regarding their employee experience. And we cover as well, the talent acquisition part and how it's perceived by the employees also of the organization. And during the analytics of the different information that we're going to be collecting from the HR team and also from the employees, we come up basically with a picture about how engaged are the employees of the organization. And we also measure the quality of the programs and how they're actually benchmarked with the best practices. So for the HR leads of the different organizations, we provide them with an overview regarding their talent acquisition strategies and how are they matched with the best practices in the market, and also how it can be actually improved from the employee's perspective as well. So this is really the insight that we provide the organizations at the end of the program so that they can build already on their existing strategies, and they can also learn from best strategies and best practices that are implemented by other organizations, either in the same industry or even beyond their strategies or even on the global level.
Right. Thanks, Hamza. There are 2 more questions. One is, does localization hinder or help in talent acquisition? Who would like to take that? Floor is open.
I'll start with it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay,
We're all so polite. Nobody wanted to jump in.
You can all pitch in. Go ahead, John.
We all spent a lot of years in this region, and so we have a lot to give back to the region. That's something I've picked up since 2007 that I landed in Dubai, where I thought I've come for a job, but then suddenly the whole country is expecting you to contribute your knowledge back to it. Okay, so it's taken a bigger shape, and I think last so many years I've been working on a lot of nationalization programs. One of my Bahraini colleague says, you are more passionate about Baranization than me. Okay, so I think it's something we have to give back. It has to be seen as an opportunity. Um, uh, we talked about it earlier that we are focusing a lot more on homegrown talent, and when I was in a fix last 2 years that we could not bring in a few technicians from other countries. The value of why we were investing in an apprenticeship program and taking young Bahraini boys and teaching them skills and giving them jobs just came into a very different picture suddenly in the last 2 years. And that's really led us to planning out more of such programs so that, and that's what you asked, what the success of talent acquisition strategy looks like. That is what the success will be. If we can proactively do some of these things and prepare for events like this, that's what the success would look like. Yeah, so definitely it is an opportunity for each of these countries we work in the Middle East, where nationalization has different challenges. I know, Kunal, you are in UAE, where there's a very small pool of local talent that the whole 7 Emirates are fighting for, but brilliant Emiratis in UAE. We got more Bahrainis here, probably 55% of the country are locals. And I think right now in Oman, it's a lot more. So the challenges differ from country to country, but yeah, we are all on route to support nationalization in our roles. Kunal, over to you. Hear your thoughts.
No, I think, John, you have covered most of it. I would just say, Helen, that whoever is asking this question, I want the audience to understand one thing. This shouldn't be taken as a trick question. Unfortunately, it is taken that way. But the whole point is this. We understand where we are. We assess the situations of our organization and the surrounding market, right? And this is where we belong. So I don't necessarily, I firstly feel very sad when somebody speaks about localization as a separate initiative. If you ask me, I think that is very derogatory in my terms. I think if we say that all employees should be treated equally, it doesn't really matter who comes from where, right? Opportunity should be fair, opportunity should be equal. And from that particular perspective, I think I don't necessarily see localization as localization over here. I think it is just a part of our recruitment process. Yes, because there's this terminology, we follow it. But I think I agree with most of the things that John has mentioned. It's just that if we take away this perspective of localization, automatically we stop positively discriminating one section of the crowd over there. Yeah.
It should be purely based on merit, I believe, and
absolutely
upskilling every single individual. And being, I've been in Bahrain for the last 25 years and being part of the training. I mean, we have upskilled so many of our clients, got them certified, so that they can walk today shoulder to shoulder with any peer globally speaking the same language. And that's what, upskilling is, training is, and, giving them the same treatment, like Kunal rightly said, why discriminate? They should be treated fairly. And while we have a quota of meeting localization, I think it's across. Bahrain has got some amazing initiatives where we are helping them as well in training people in the retail industry. Even though they are undergrads, there's opportunity for everyone. It's how you take that forward and train these young individuals, young graduates, for example. There's room for so much that we can do with these young individuals in society. And I think the person who's asked this question, it's never a hinder. I think it's an asset. Every individual is an asset to society, to our organizations, and we should look at it from a positive point of view. Deborah, Hamza and Deborah, do you want to add anything to this?
I was just going to say, I think it aligns with everything that I fundamentally believe when it comes to diversity. And I think you're right. It's about getting the right person, giving people an equal chance. But I think we've got a long way to go because there's a lot of preconceptions. Like you might think you always need someone from another country to do a job, but do you really? And it's really about again, looking through a different lens and challenging yourself and saying, why am I automatically jumping to this one person? Why am I making this assumption? You know, we were hiring a head of our finance department. We couldn't find any women applying. And we thought that's because we're looking in the same talent pool over and over again. We need to widen our net. We need to change our perceptions of it and look at the situation differently. So I think that needs to go into the mix as well, getting rid of those old preconceptions.
You rightly said, Deborah, we're looking in the same direction, expecting different results. And I think that needs to change. Hamza, any thoughts?
Well, no, not really. I think all has been said by the panelists. So no specific insights from my side.
Okay. There is the last question for the day, and that goes to Kunal again. How do you manage to get the right talent when the overseas hiring becomes difficult and have to depend on the available resources? What strategy do you adopt?
I think this is what I already discussed when I was giving an opinion on my session question that came through John. And yes, it is difficult at times when mobility is an issue. People cannot really travel, and country has a number of regulations for people who are not within the country, cannot apply, and all those things. At that particular point in time, we get into situations where we cannot sometimes find the kind of talent we want for a particular role. And this is precisely the reason within Choitrams, we have a process for internal job promotions, applications. And I think now the time, luckily we started this process long back, and our reliability on internal sources is obviously the first thing that we cater to. In case we don't find a talent which is fit for the role internally, at that particular point in time, we go out. So did we really face a crunch as such during the pandemic? Frankly, no. And this also caters to the strategy part of it, which I discussed, where we decided not to expand, till we come to a consensus on how the pandemic is going to take shape moving on. So I think internal mobility is something that company need to stress on. There are people who are leaving organizations, and the primary reason for that is psychological alignment with the organization. You can provide that alignment by ensuring that we are there to take care of you. Number one, we are there to provide you opportunities within the organization. And like I have already discussed, you don't have to necessarily promote a person within a department. If there are overlapping skills, focus on those skills, get them on board, get them to experiment with those things, and then give the right push. The experiment should not be that if it does not work, the person is out. The experiment should be that whoever is the decision maker should have that responsibility on themselves to ensure that this has to work. So I think if that works out, it is nice. Apparently Deborah was talking about values. Right?
You rightly said,
amongst
Kunal,
all the
I
values,
think internal mobility
Hello?
is also a very motivating factor for employees within. Can you hear me?
Kunal's still going on, so he hasn't finished, Helen.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kunal.
I can hear you.
I think there was a breakdown in network. Go ahead, Kunal. Carry on.
Just one quick point, because Deborah was speaking about values. We have 5 set of values within our organization. One of them, importantly, is called being boundaryless. And what it means is my job role is not dependent, only being an HR person within the organization. Today, if we have to find a new location for a new store, okay, the team comes together, takes an opinion. We discuss headcount, we discuss strategy, we discuss what sections will happen in that particular area, and everybody pitches in an opinion. We talk about supply chain, we talk about distribution, we talk business over here. And this is precisely the reason when we are doing operational projects this morning, HR had a seat in that particular room where we were questioning on why this analysis happened and why elements were missed out. So I think HR needs to also grow up and within the organization try and understand business more. I think that will cultivate a culture within the organization where everybody merges within different domains rather than poking them now and then. So I think this is very important. When you try and be boundaryless, you adapt easily to what different domains are doing, and you understand them better compared to what we have been doing in the past.
True, I completely agree, and that reminds me of HR manager who reached out to me for a training program, and he wanted a whole set of training programs, and he took me first to the entire process of what his organization does, every department, and I was absolutely stunned at the way he knew the business. And for an HR individual, knowing the business inside out, every single department, what they do, why they do, how they do, I was so impressed. And I think HR, as you rightly said, Kunal, needs to get to know the business. They need to have those tough conversations with leadership. They need to have that voice in the boardroom. They need to have part of conversations, like you said, like Choit Ram is doing an amazing job with you being part of those discussions which drive organizational growth. And I think that's what HR needs to do and move ahead and be there to be partaking in those very, very important decision making when it comes to talent acquisition or whatever strategies that are in place.
Helen, I was just going to say, as an HR leader, you have absolutely no credibility if you cannot speak the business language. When I worked for Legoland, if I didn't understand how a roller coaster worked, I knew the ins and outs and everything, I would have no credibility around the board meeting or the board table. So you're absolutely right.
Yep. So on that positive note, thank you so much to every single one of you. John, you did a fantastic session moderating the session. Deborah, thank you so much. Hamza is off the camera. I hope you can hear us. Thank you so much for being a sponsor, supporting us year on year. Kunal, amazing insights, every single one of you. Thank you so much for being part of HRM Summit. And we are really, really obliged and grateful.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thanks to Mr. Sridhar, Helen, and the
Roscom
team.
Or did we have a breakdown because all your screens are frozen? Yeah,
yes, we can hear you. No, I was just saying thanks to Mr. Sridhar, Helen, yourself, and the Roscom team for this opportunity and for continuing to encourage such networking and events in this region. Yeah, whether we did it live in a hotel or virtual, I think it's quite effective.
Absolutely.
And I hope that 37 people who were listening to us found some value in our discussions. I had fun talking to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Take care.
Thanks,
Take care.
Hamza.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And with that, we come to the close of our day 3. Thank you so much, every single one of you. I've got a whole lot of people to thank on behalf of Roscom and the HRM Summit team. Our CEO, M.A. Sridhar, joins me in thanking every single one of you that has helped put this amazing event, the 12th HRM Summit Middle East 2021, which we have held and hosted under the patronage of His Excellency Dr. Abdul Hussain Ali Mirza, President of the Sustainable Energy Authority in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Our sponsors that have supported us, Nasij, Tesseract, BSH, Global Payment Transitions, Bright HCM, Best Places to Work, Office Kit, Talbrim, our strategic partner, Union of Arab Banks, our community partners, Saudi Human Capital Club, Bangladesh Society of Human Resource Management, HR Success Talk, UAE Chapter, Maldives Association of HR Professionals, Association of Elite HR Professionals Nigeria, media partners, Lebanon Television, Tele-Liban. We also need to thank HR Revolution Middle East, Biz Bahrain, HR in Asia, Eye of Riyadh, People Management, Chief Marketing Officers Magazine, and Ed Arabia. Our speakers, our wonderful speakers, without which we would not have had a successful event. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Sincere appreciation for your outstanding presentation, for sharing your time, your expertise, and your interesting experiences with our audience, which have left them richer today in knowledge with meaningful takeaways, which every single one of them, I'm sure, are grateful and indebted. We are pleased to have your participation for this conference, and we thank you for your valuable contribution as well. Our delegates who have signed up for our event, thank you so much. Thank you for sending in those questions. For our speakers, appreciate all your support year on year. And last but not the least, our wonderful team that has worked tirelessly to bring this event to all of you. appreciate all your feedback. Please keep them coming. The platform is open for you all to engage and interact. We will have the video sessions available to you post-conference. So do send us your feedback, help us to polish our events year on year, and without your feedback, we can't do that. So be constructive in your criticism as well. We are happy to take any negative criticism, more than happy, because for us, your criticism makes us shine brighter, and we are open to it. So please share your feedback, and look forward to seeing you next year, same time, and having your support, ongoing support, to make HRM Summit, continue to make HRM Summit the best in the Middle East. On that note, thank you, God bless, and have a wonderful evening.
Managers and officers manage their day-to-day payroll and HR administration, as well as employee benefits. Employees can securely log in via Face ID, their phone's fingerprint scanner, or a password to get access to their dashboard. The dashboard shows real-time visual charts summarizing their last payslip, expenses, overtime, as well as benefits such as leave, tickets, schooling, and loans, and a list of upcoming holidays to help them plan. Employees can see more details on any dashboard item by tapping through to a detail view, such as reviewing the details of their last payslip and payslip history. For leave, users can submit new requests by selecting their start and end dates, choosing the leave type, and attaching documents such as a sick leave certificate before submitting for internal approval following a predefined company workflow. Employees can always check on the status of their submitted requests to see further details and who still needs to approve them. They can even cancel their requests should they need to. From their profile, employees can make requests for certificates such as a salary certificate, access alert notifications about documents due to expire, and access their HR help desk for support. A manager's dashboard will feature all the same elements as any employee's dashboard, but they'll also be able to process employees' requests pending their approval. They can directly approve or reject requests from the summary list, or they can see further details of the request before making that decision. Blink, connecting employees to business, anytime, anywhere.
The digital generation's learning needs and expectations are ever growing and ever changing. Digital devices are transforming both our personal and work lives. Learning is everywhere, and learners today expect their learning to be like the rest of their digital life, which is quick, uninterrupted, personalized, and smart. Microlearning fits perfectly with today's learners' digital learning culture. It is a quick and smart way to engage learners and can be personalized to meet a specific learner's needs. But how can you create and deliver microlearning to keep up with the pace of the digital learning culture and meet learners' expectations? Meet Credo, a microlearning platform created by creators for creators to deliver efficiencies at every stage of the training lifecycle. With Credo, you can create and publish microlearning courses with ease, roll out seamlessly, and track the performance of learners with intuitive analytics. Not just that, you can even build assessments, interactive quizzes, learning paths. Choose from gamified templates and request for a new template. Credo is the ideal tool to train your employees, mainly frontline employees.